Well, Aristo was a little bit late arriving this morning, and so we're getting a late start. But his camera is also not working, so this will be an audio only video. That doesn't make sense, does it? But that's the reality of it. It will just be audio. So, Mr. Aristo, good afternoon, and take it away.
Good morning, Ron. Sorry for being late. I know I ripped you off from your schedule, but it couldn't be helped, at least on my end. My camera is working, actually, but the connection, for some reason, is messed up. Now, why am I even bothering saying this? Because external events reflect internal states. This is something that doesn't make sense to the normal so-called person. However, it is very important for me to say again that of all the places I could have gone and posted, because I would be on various sites and just say my opinion and stuff, and I feel I have some food for thought to offer. I felt it was important to be on a site or a Facebook page or in a venue where there were people who weren't just speaking through the matrix paradigm. There were people who could actually think around the matrix paradigm in some way. These are people who are often labeled spiritual, but not religious necessarily, because that's the matrix paradigm again. So alternative spirituality for me, and I went through sites of occultism or other things and New Age stuff, and I found that, well, a general collection of people who are into alternative spirituality, but also practical people who are into the world as they see it and just do not buy into the matrix program and believe that there should be a way out. This mix of people for me is the niche, is the what they call the marketing group or whatever, the target group that has the most potential to make a difference. So I want to say, do not shortchange yourselves. It makes me amazed that the establishment is putting out so much effort to create misinformation in the New Age, so-called New Age venue, because this is supposed to be a fringe venue of crazies. Why would people be paid or misinformation and all of this to come into people who believe in stuff that everybody considers crazy and thus confuse them? Why would people come in and give false hope? Why would people teach spirituality, so to speak, that disempower people? Why are they even being given attention? And I say this to you listeners, to the whatever, 500 to 1,000 people who might listen, maybe even more or less, I don't know. But why are you important to them? Ask that question before you say it's hopeless, before you say I can't wake up anybody, before you say I'm just waiting for the world to end or there's no solution. Why are you important to the proverbial enemy? And I say enemy in the sense of adversary. In Sanskrit, the word for enemy is shatru, which means feller, similar to the name Nepheli, which doesn't mean fallen one, but it means one who chops trees down, one who chops people down. It means a warrior. It means not a warrior, the warrior that fights against you. It means just because you don't believe in fighting doesn't mean that the other guy doesn't. Okay, so these others are against us. Just because you don't believe in violence doesn't mean others don't believe in violation, and they are trying to violate us. Okay, so even if you are a pacifist, you are in a position where you must respond to the aggression of others. And that response does not need to be aggressive, but it needs to be effective. And so those know that we have power. We don't know what that power is. Oh, God, give us power. Oh, God, whatever. Oh, this, oh, that. Oh, where's my savior? Or where's I'm weak? Yes, but why does the quote-unquote enemy think we are a threat? And I'm talking about people who are defying the matrix in their own minds and hearts. Maybe their lives are a defiance of the matrix, but the mind and heart is, and that is a threat to the proverbial enemy. And I believe that is a life raft. Your ship is sunk, you're in the high seas, and you're looking for a plank or something, or a life preserver, and there it is. The way your adversary, the matrix, maybe not the psychopaths, but call it what you will, the way they consider you is your life raft. There's a saying, nobody kicks a dead dog or a corpse. They only kick what they believe is a threat to them. So please consider that and know that my own viewpoint is one of saying, okay, you have all these people saying what we need to do in an immediate sense, go out, protest, form groups, change the system, this and that. And I'm saying, look, but there is nobody who is giving you advice on how to address the internal thing, because it's not the New Age stuff as it is normally given. The funny thing is that the so-called alternative spirituality stuff that we're arguing about amongst ourselves, when we should actually strive to make sense of it, is true if you understand it in its right context, but it's been misconstrued, misinterpreted. The first illusion is that there is no such thing as a New Age movement. Alternative spirituality is actually old school spirituality, refurbished, repackaged, and reinterpreted. And it's, in fact, the loudest voices are the ones that have been funded, or the ones that have come here first and established themselves. And this has led, and everything else has been co-opted into those worldviews. So whether somebody is deluded or on the take, it doesn't matter. What matters is what we do. And what we do, for what we need to do, in my honest opinion, is to stand up to the rabbit hole and walk in there and see how far it really goes. That is what you did, Ron, in your last video, in my honest opinion. You've been doing that a little bit in previous videos.
Well, I had 4 straight videos on lies.
Exactly. And you've been extending the rabbit hole to all the institutions, because somebody who's afraid, remember when I talked about fear, and the power of fear is not that, the power of fear is to make us deny it and try to push it away or overcome it. You cannot overcome fear any more than you can overcome yourself. You can only transform it. You can digest it. You can take out yourself from it and remove the programming that turns it into something that's adverse. True fear is meant to protect you, so we don't want to eliminate it. It's simply motivation to do something. Motivation to do something, to fight, to run, and to stop in your tracks in the hope that the threat is just going to pass you by. Sometimes fear turns us on sexually. That's another thing. It's like, you know, you take your girlfriend to the horror movie, blah, 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 all of that. But, you know, it does stimulate the sexual centers, which means fear stimulates procreation, the need to stay alive. That is what fear is supposed to do. But if you do not address the threat, then the fear will consume you, because it's considering that you're a hopeless cause. Nature cannot expend energy like that and disrupt the equilibrium of an organism in perpetuity. For the same reason that health people say that oxidative stress, you know, oxidation, antioxidants, all of that, is actually good for you when it's brief. If you're stressed for short periods and then you have a long period of recuperation, you become much stronger than if you're just resting in peace constantly. But if you're chronically stressed, you're fucked. You break down. And so our fear is turned chronic so we don't do something. But on our end, we're discouraged constantly from addressing the true threat. If there is no solution, that means the real threat is not addressed. So all of those spiritual people also who think that the real solution is some abstract zone of, well, you have to stay positive. And I wanted to address that, because staying positive, and they talk about, I believe in positive thinking. I do. But positive thinking is not to be used to stay positive and force yourself to stay positive when there's a threat. You cannot stay positive in a crisis. You have to become functional. You know, staying positive is interpreted as being in peace, being as if there is no crisis. That's how people interpret it. Staying positive means is the state where there is no crisis, where everything is fine, you know, but everything is not fine. If your body stayed positive when you're sick, you would die. If your body, if even a little flu, if your body didn't go into a fever, if your histamines didn't respond, if your immune system basically said there's no threat, let's relax, you would die from a fucking little flu. So but then there are some illnesses, some viruses that go into the immune system and trigger proteins to make the immune system inert, because the immune system falls asleep and stays positive. So consider it organically again. I love organic analogies here. The body is the greatest teacher. You know, that if your enemy or adversary or whoever, and please don't bring up, oh, there is no such thing, it's all you're in your mind. You know, well, the one that wants to kill you, let's put it that way. Your shadow that you're supposed to absorb, but you're not, so it's coming at you from the outside. So if the shadow is weaker than you, what is it going to do? It's going to destroy your immune system. How is it going to do that? By putting it to sleep, by making it stay positive. So you say, what can we do? Stay negative? Well, see, that's the problem. You're stuck in this duality. See, the world, we talk about dualism and duality, but the world isn't just black and white. That's another fucking lie. We're stuck in the either there's one or there's two. Well, how about there's fucking many? You know, why are we stuck on either there's one or there's polarity, polar? You know, yeah, there's polarity, but how about the current in between? There's a positive pole, negative pole. But what happens in between? You got a circuit and you have the battery with a positive and negative pole, but you got the lights and you got the electrical systems and you got the computers and you got the stereo systems, everything that gets lit up. How about those things? You know, so we do have other outputs for our energy. It's not just positive and negative. Unless we learn to become more sophisticated in ourselves, in our thinking, in our feeling, without rejecting things. And the way you become sophisticated is to become a little chaotic, is to mix the so-called positive and negative together. Yes, a right and a wrong make a wrong, but a creative mixing of right with wrong can correct the wrong. Who corrects the wrong? The right. And how can the right correct the wrong if it doesn't come into contact with it? So you need to be able to think a little more sophisticated. But what is the enemy, quote unquote, again, trying to do? Dumb you down. And what does a dumb person, have you ever felt dumb? I mean, you know, maybe a hangover or you're tired or, you know, whatever. You actually acknowledge the fact that I'm really stupid today. I can't think. What happens? What happens when you try to think? You get a headache. You feel tired. You want to just stop thinking because you don't feel up to it. But what do some people say? Well, look, man, just keep using that brain, keep getting the circulation in your head going, take deep breaths, and eventually you're going to fire up even if it hurts. What do they do in physical therapy? Somebody has a wound. They don't say rest in bed and stay in bed until you get better. They say get up and get on that treadmill and work it. But it hurts. Well, work it anyways. That's good. Pain tells you you're alive, okay? So use your instincts. Use cognitive dissonance to your advantage. Use everything they're trying to throw us to your advantage. This is what I mentioned about the energy body. You know, you have the wisdom body, but that's pretty much shut down in most everybody. But it can wake up once we address the body that a lot of people don't feel energy. You know, so the chi body, the prana body, as they call it, is shut down in most people. Well, you can circulate and you can feel that too. Most people, however, have a mind of sorts and emotions. You know, most people do. So the middle part of the energy body, the processing body, is still working. We need to reclaim it. And one of the things to do is to get clever in the sense of how you interact with things in your alternative spirituality. Get creative, because that has the solutions. Why are spiritual systems repressed throughout history? Why do they become religions? Who would do such a thing? The one that wants to control you. That means there are resources in there And I do not feel that current technologies are able to subvert them if they really fire up. So if you feel cognitive dissonance is a kind of pain, isn't it? It's a pain and it tells you something is wrong. So if you try to address it, you're an issue and it causes cognitive dissonance, your instinct is to say, okay, something is wrong. Oh, the issue must be what's wrong. No, it's not the issue. It's whatever doesn't want you to address the issue. That's what's wrong. You're being inhibited from anything that fires up your natural psychic immune system, your natural spiritual immune system. This is the gift that God gave us. This is the gift that God gave us, this gift. But, if we allow it to be ruined, then God is going to come down and fire it up. And what are we going to do? Why are we even here? Why aren't we just puppets of some divinity then? There is a point where it's too easy to say, okay, I give up. Again, if you're really sophisticated, and alternative spiritual people are, as well as those who question the system and aren't alternative spiritual people, if you are really sophisticated, you can question every situation. And you can say, okay, why am I feeling disheartened? Is it really because I'm disheartened? If I was really disheartened, why would I be questioning the system in the first place? Why would I be saying, hey, let's stand up to this? Why don't I just give up? Most people do, because they don't have that special something that the system recognizes in some people. So I'm saying you who all are listening, and I'm not flattering you, you're special. And any change that happens always happens from a minority, not even a group. It happens from an individual. It happens from a seed. And the seeds are already there. And once they begin to sprout, they spread to the next and the next. But the next are not going to respond unless they feel your strength. That is why people who are disappointed cannot awaken other people. Because your motivation for awakening them is because you feel weak and you need their strength with you. But those people are saying, well, I'm even weaker than you, so I'm just going to be the shield. Is that what you're going to do? You want me to join the big crowd so I get shot first and you can, who are a little more sophisticated can survive? You're using me for cannon fodder? That's how people think subconsciously when they don't want to awaken. It's not because they don't know. Everybody does in some way. But they are allowing themselves to fall asleep because they are convinced it is safer. So if you hear a voice telling you to give up, ask yourself if it is your voice. If you hear a voice telling you you're going to die, ask yourself if it is really what you want to do. Because if you don't want to die, then the voice you hear is not yours. If you hear a voice telling you your time is up, it's hopeless, and all of this, then that is an enemy that is afraid of you. Call it Archon, call it a beam from a satellite, call it conditioning, I don't care. It doesn't matter. We get caught up in where it's coming from and don't deal with what it is. So I was going to talk about specific things today, like positive thinking and New Age stuff that's misconstrued because it's not false. But that's what keeps us arguing. If it was completely false, we could easily say, okay, it's bullshit, we're fine. But it's not. Sincere people sense the truth in some things. That the world is not what it appears to be, so they call it all an illusion. That positive thinking does help, because when you're in the dumps, who is going to give you that pep talk to give you courage? Your positive thinking. When you're inspired by divine or spirit or whatever, it trickles into your mind. What does your mind do? It starts becoming positive. It doesn't do it to deny the negative. It does it to empower the weaker part of you that has become negative. So you can get your damn, and not even damn, your blessed immune system working. You can get the blood flowing, everything. So my view is to help people to do what they can, because everybody is still alive, has a body, and can still think in some way and feel. And so if you don't have any other solutions, you have that one and see where it takes you. But like Ron has been doing, you need to be able to see the rabbit hole for what it is. You cannot attach yourself to false life preservers, because they're all going to fizzle out and they're going to drag you down. That's the problem. We keep attaching ourselves to false hope. And because we're afraid of swimming. We can swim. It doesn't mean we're going to live in the water. We're swimming to shore. We may not be able to see it on the horizon, but it doesn't matter. Because a swimmer in the ocean, instead of going to the island, is going to eventually reach another swimmer. And that swimmer, if they're going to drag them down, they need to fucking let them go. To go to somebody who can swim. And if they can teach people to swim, then so much the better. Because this is a matter of survival at this stage. It's a matter of survival in the sense that a group of people needs to become strong in and of themselves to defy the matrix in and of themselves. And so when they awaken somebody else, it's going to be from a position of inner strength. And know that inner strength is developed through adversity. That's the way nature works right now. It doesn't work like that in paradise.
Damn it.
Exactly. Yeah, damn it. Because nature is limited. That's why it works. It doesn't do that because it's a bitch or God is cruel. But because, in my honest opinion, creation is incomplete. And we are the completers of it. God works through us. So we understand what a tough job it is to be God. You know, because it's not something out of nothing. It's something that is being dragged down by nothing. You know, a half-complete creation is actually being dragged down by the nothingness out of which it sprang, so to speak, and it's also being dragged forward by the Creator himself. So there is a tension, and we are in the middle of this tension, but we are designed for it. This doesn't have to be a bad adversity, but in the beginning, our muscles will only develop when we work them. And we need to get in charge of our stress instead of it being controlled by others. We need to take the weapons, so-called, that the enemy throws at us. Again, I don't want so-called peaceniks to think that I'm speaking in terms of warfare. These are metaphors. So we need to be able to turn things in our favor creatively, and we can, starting from the inside. And I just wanted to give some examples to help people maybe look toward that direction. You're doing very good, in my honest opinion. Kudos for pointing to the rabbit hole and having the courage to say, okay, let's say there is no institution. There is no life preserver. There is nothing but us. What are we going to do? And some are going to say, well, I'm going to kill myself. And that's fine, because there are influences of one or another that are trying to make us die. Because if we don't die willingly, then we can't be killed. That is the big secret. Some people are killed, and by violence, but I'm talking en masse. I'm talking that they cannot take over the system, because if they do, without our consent, and that means the consent of empowered individuals, even if they may be a few, as long as there are a few left here and there, then if they take over, it will collapse on them, and they know it. So it's pointless. They can kill everybody if they want. They would have done so, but they haven't. There's a reason for it. So I just want people to consider these things, and because I do believe in hope, and I do believe it's a real hope, because we are here and we can. Thank you for listening.
That's it?
How much did I
No, that's, if you wanted to end it there, that's fine.
I thought I was talking for like 2 hours or something, or half an hour.
No, it's not even a half an hour, but that's, you know, it's okay. It gives me time to do some other things.
Exactly. I told you I would make it shorter. And I guess that's how it worked out. See, when you make an intention, be careful of the intention you make, because it comes to pass in spite of yourself sometimes. So
okay.
Yes, it's a complete message, I guess.
Okay, well, I think we started at 35, but maybe it was 25. I'm not sure. Whatever it was, it was. Thank you, Aristo.